Hello, you're on Initiative Africa. My name is Asha Sampath. Welcome to this new edition of your weekly magazine featuring Africa on the move through smart innovations and initiatives that work. Let's get on with the show with our top stories today. We meet Alexandra Palt, the Executive Director of the L'Oreal Foundation, who promotes African women scientists through the L'Oreal UNESCO Program for Women in Science, which supported 15 doctoral and 5 postdoctoral students from sub-Saharan Africa through endowments in 2020. She's our guest this week.
But in average, when you look at the continent, 30% of researchers are women. The problem is that there are too few researchers and that the world needs much more researchers from Africa.
Raising awareness among young people about the negative impact of conflicts and wars through meetings and discussion platforms. This is the mission of Fon Dieudonne, a disabled Cameroonian.
My worst memory is when people who are close to me, friends and relatives, were pulled out of their house and shot and killed. Those are very horrible moments in my life.
Finally, we head for the land of the upright man, Burkina Faso, where women are actively participating in the country's economy through craftsmanship.
I made my first trip abroad to come to the SIAO, which was where my talent was discovered. And when I realized that I had to take it seriously, I stopped going to work in an office, and now I earn a living from handicrafts.
In Cameroon, the issue of equality for social, economic and political rights between Anglophones and Francophones has turned into a serious crisis, leading to its share of human tragedies and population displacement. Now imagine the challenge you would face if you had lost loved ones, your home and your business during this crisis and had to live with an amputated leg as a result of a car accident. Our Voices for Peace series, inspired by the African Union's Silencing the Guns initiative, takes us today near Yaoundé to meet Fon Dieudonne, a star renowned in disability football. Fon uses his notoriety to sensitize young people to the negative impact of conflicts and wars through organized meetings and discussion platforms. Quite remarkable.
My worst memory is when people who are close to me, friends and relatives, were pulled out of their house and shot and killed. Those are very horrible moments in my life. My also worst moment was when I was living in a single room with my daughter and my wife, who was heavily pregnant, and we barely could not have anything to eat. My best moments are, when I appear onto platforms, even international platforms, as a hero, as somebody who the world looks onto to listen to my story. Okay, I was forced to run away from my house. I lost my business. I lost everything that I was doing. I lost my comfort. I lost my peace. I lost hope several times. There are moments I used to sit and I imagined that it was better I would have been dead. There are moments I used to imagine that I wish I were not born. And basically I was begging to survive, to feed my family. I have to depend on friends. I have to depend on strangers, before I could be able to feed my family. It was because of my displacement and because of the conflict that I began to discover a lot of things. I meet so many other people who were displaced, friends who were displaced, and now my whole story has changed. Everything that I used to think about, I've now moved to another level. The conflict has made me think out of the box. The conflict has removed me from my comfort zone. So the conflict has really shaped my career, and now I'm a civil society actor. I'm an advocate for peace. I'm an amputee football player. Before I was not playing football, so. But the general situation of violence, burning of houses, burning of cars, blocking of roads, and all the things have greatly subsided because of the voices that were put out there. My peers now understand that mediation, dialogue, negotiation, and a come together of people can give lasting solution to conflicts. So the situation has greatly changed, you know, because we are seeing people now coming together to pray, people coming together to say no to violence. We've created a lot of platforms where young people can share their voices online and offline. I was to travel to Qatar on a program on peace building, but it was halted. I was to travel to Sierra Leone, but it was halted due to COVID-19. I was to travel to US, but it was halted due to COVID-19. And a lot of my friends that I used to bring together and we do sport together, we could not do sport again. It brought a lot of depression and trauma and stigmatization. It increased the degree of pain in us, adding to the conflict again, adding the conflict zone again of Northwest and Southwest. I expect the participants to know what it means to build an inclusive society. I expect the participants to know what it means to live with a disability, to live with an impairment. So in this aspect, it will help the participants to fit in the society and look everybody as equal. In a few years from now, I'm seeing a situation where youth will be able to take positions of leadership. You know, Africa has the highest population, a youthful population, and Cameroon in particular has about 75% of youth. So we are seeing youth in future taking roles as leaders. We are seeing a situation where young people will take the road to peace and not the road to violence, because they have discovered that violence is not a solution to our problems.
And next week in our Voices for Peace series, spotlight on the diaspora. We will highlight their efforts to strengthen peace in the Central African Republic through education and training initiatives. But for now, let's get back to our guest, who, as I mentioned earlier, is a great supporter of women empowerment. She is the general manager of the L'Oreal Foundation, which allows young women scientists to access endowments. The objective is to help them progress in their research and their careers. She explained to Laurence Soustras and Thierry Schiller what solutions she envisions for young African scientists. Alexandra Palt, thank you for joining me on Initiative Africa. You are the Executive Vice President of the L'Oreal Foundation and the head of L'Oreal UNESCO for Women in Science Awards. Could you tell our African viewers what are those awards about?
Thank you very much for having me. So the L'Oreal UNESCO for Women in Science Awards exists since 20 years, more than 20 years. At this time, we became aware of the fact that women scientists were invisible in society. Scientific excellence was also always a male domain. So more than 20 years ago, we decided to give awards to recognize and acknowledge female scientific excellence. So every year, 5 women from 5 major geographical regions are awarded for their lifelong career. But very fast we became aware that this is not enough and that we have also to encourage young scientists, women who are doing their thesis or their postdoc, in order to encourage them to pursue scientific careers. And so we added programs, regional or national programs, in order to give awards to young talents and encourage them to continue their scientific research.
So far, there have been over 100 laureates and over 3,000 scientists awarded research scholarships in over 107 countries. How have African women fared in this competition?
So when we look at the geographical distribution of researchers in the world, we see that in Africa, just 2.4% of researchers come from Africa on a global scale. 2.4. So this is a very, very small number. Among these 2.4% of worldwide researchers, there are 30% of women. And that is the average that we see everywhere. And that's the same like in Europe or in North America or in other parts. Of course, you can have then national variations. So you have a lot of women in South Africa, and you have very few women in some countries. In West Africa, unfortunately, there are fewer and so on. But in average, when you look at the continent, 30% of researchers are women. The problem is that there are too few researchers and that the world needs much more researchers from Africa.
So let's talk about this absence of women in science in sub-Saharan Africa. What solution does your foundation foresee to act on this issue?
So we created a regional program for women in science for sub-Saharan Africa, and we give awards to young talents, who are women who are doing their thesis or their postdoc. This award is related to an amount to a financial contribution of 10 or 15,000 euros, and we add a training program. So we train these young women on communication skills, leadership skills, negotiation, because this kind of soft skills are absolutely necessary to make a career and to get through the glass ceiling. So we add the soft skills to their excellent scientific competencies in order to accelerate their careers.
Still, in sub-Saharan Africa today, there are multiple obstacles to education for girls. And these obstacles seem to appear very early at primary school. What should be done to increase girls' success rate at an early stage?
Well, actually, I think girls, the question is not a rate of success. Girls are as good in math, as good in all scientific topics as our boys. Even when you look at worldwide studies, you see that girls are doing very good in science, often even better than boys. No, the problem is how do we orientate them to scientific studies? Because unfortunately gender stereotypes and representations make girls go to other fields of professional fields than scientific issues. So we have to encourage them and orientate them from an early stage on to choose more scientific careers in various fields. Can be in companies, in public life, in research and innovation, but we need more women in science. So what the L'Oréal Foundation is doing, we are supporting local organizations, because in a lot of countries there are local NGOs who try to work to encourage girls to choose scientific studies and to go further in their interest for science. The very interesting initiatives in Kenya, in Republic of Congo and so on, where accomplished scientists try to accompany young girls and children to science.
Successful young female scientists face another threat, which is harassment, sometimes by their male supervisors. Your foundation found out that there are quite some issues in this field. What are you doing in this matter?
Yes, sexual harassment is a major obstacle in women's careers in general. It is true also in science, and we have found out that women are confronted to sexual harassment on all continents, in Europe, in America, in Africa. Unfortunately, this is still a taboo, so a lot of people think that science is protected from this kind of behaviors, and we know that it is not, because when we do research, we get the numbers. During 2019, in our last research, 47% of women said that they have been either confronted or witnessed sexual harassment or deviant behavior at least once in that year. So that is a huge number. So this is unfortunately an endemic problem. And if we want to have more women in scientific careers, but more women in professional life, we need to make clear that this is unacceptable and that it has to be very, very severely sanctioned.
What can your foundation do concretely?
Well, our foundation, what we can do is, of course, raise awareness. We have the capacity to raise awareness among the women scientists. We have also the capacity to raise awareness among the institution and the public opinion. And we also do a lot of research, as we did last year, in order to identify the obstacles that women are confronted with. And then we also, this is also an issue that we take seriously in our training programs in order to inform women of harassment situations and what they can do in order to respond to this.
You're on Initiative Africa. Welcome back to the second part of our show. Although girls' education is on the rise on the continent, few women still have access to a high-level education, despite the fact that women actually occupy a crucial place in African societies, often appearing as one of the first victims of the effects of globalization. African women have embraced craftsmanship and are striving to get away from the traditional role of women in motherhood, which very often sticks to their personality. We went to Burkina Faso to meet these active contributors to the country's economic development.
Poverty in Burkina is feminine. If women don't work together, they won't be able to help themselves.
In Burkina Faso, the host country of the Handicraft Salon, women didn't wait for the government to help them get organized. GAFRE, the Women's Action Group for the Economic Revival of Houet, has over 7,000 female members and almost 120 associations. The GAFRE women were at the SIAO with a stand on plastic recycling.
We founded this association to help our sisters and promote development. We are helping one another so we can earn a living. That's why we set up this center to recycle plastic bags. For many women, our association means work in the handicraft sector.
Christiane Bouba works at the Ouagadougou Handicrafts Village. She learned to weave plastic bags there. This new trade was a golden opportunity for this young woman.
By doing this, I have enough money to pay for my lessons. I study in the evening, so when I leave here at 6 p.m., I head off to school. I can also buy myself clothes and get myself little things a girl likes. This job helps me out.
Madame Diaby Quatara Masiani has made salvaging into a profitable business. She produces recycled dyed hessian. She presented her original product for the first time.
I made my first trip abroad to come to the SIAO, which was where my talent was discovered. And when I realized that I had to take it seriously, I stopped going to work in an office, and now I earn a living from handicrafts. Then I won a UNESCO award, the label of excellence for West African handicrafts. I was the winner for the Ivory Coast. There were 7 winners in Africa.
Her personal success story should not hide the fact that many other craftspeople face a daily struggle. The Women's Association, Sahel Paper Recycled Paper, couldn't afford a stand at the Siao. They chose to stay at the Handicrafts Village, where they pay a monthly rent of $80.
We didn't have the money to go to the SIAO, so we are here instead. It's not easy finding the money to pay the rent here either. We need money at home and money to eat, so it's tough. We have been here since this morning, and we have sold nothing, not even 20 cents worth. Yesterday was the same. The day before that, we made $9.
The recycled plastic bag stand won the award for the best presentation and for the best training. Encouraging words are helpful. But what Christiane Lamizana and her colleagues really need is financial support.
Handicrafts is about women. If you walk around the SIAO, you will see that most of the participants are women. And they are very determined women who deserve our support. As I said earlier, poverty is a woman's problem. All of these women working here in handicrafts are doing it to support their families and escape poverty.
For the past decade, Burkina Faso has been waging a global campaign to promote the sector. 50% of handicrafts workers are women, but the public are only beginning to be aware of the major role played by women. The Federation of Handicrafts Workers recently launched a fund to provide extra encouragement.
The support fund was set up to help women in revenue-earning activities. To qualify, women need to be working in handicrafts, either in small or medium-sized companies or in the commercial side. They may be in associations or working individually. The amount available depends on their specific status.
Whether they are designing, making materials or jewelry, or working in sales, women have shown that they are involved in every stage of the sector's activities. They now need the right training and financial support to enable them to fully capitalize on their abilities and their determination to work.
Let's find out more from Alexandra Palt, our guest this week. She shares with us her conviction that the success of a multinational like L'Oréal in advancing the circular economy can also have a positive impact on Africa. Listen to her. Alexandra Palt, you live in Paris, but you are Austrian, and you said that you belong to a generation that was very sensitive to the Holocaust. Did it have any influence in your choice to study law and work for human rights?
Yeah, so I think it is right that in the 80s, 90s in Austria, we talked a lot about the Shoah and about Austrian responsibility and contribution to this crime. And I think this raised awareness about how important it is for me to fight against injustice and the inhumanization of the other and unequal access to opportunities and to rights for women, but also all minority populations. So I specialized very early on these issues and worked then in NGOs, at lawyers' office and so on. And the issues of fighting inequality, for equal access to rights, to opportunities. These are issues that were throughout my career present, and these are the issues I'm still working on.
From Amnesty International, you worked for the French Body Against Discrimination and Inequality, and then L'Oréal. What was the most difficult in this transition from NGO to the corporate environment?
Well, actually, I was very surprised myself, but it was not difficult. Actually, it is a continuity. L'Oréal hired me and asked me to come to L'Oréal to do exactly what I know to do. So working for sustainability, working for gender equality, for diversity. And this, I was capable of continuing doing that at L'Oréal. I would say even accelerating and having more impact and more opportunities and possibilities, because companies, when they move very fast and they have all what is necessary to do so. So I think it is a continuity in my career. I didn't feel it like an interruption or a disruption.
Given your past, what are your thoughts when you look at Africa today? Is it a land which is often on the edge of local genocide, or do you see it more as a continent of economic expansion?
Well, I see Africa as much more than that. I think Africa is a big continent with many countries, with an incredible diversity of people, of opportunities, of innovations, of problems, of people. And so for me, it is more the land of infinite opportunities and a very interesting future. Than just the two dimensions that you just cited, which are of course also a reality. But I think today there is an energy, there is a youth that is bringing so much to the table on global issues that I'm very, very positive, optimistic for the future.
In 2013, L'Oréal has taken the path of sustainable development targets, which are being reached. Still, many African countries are literally littered by tons of plastic. What are you doing to convince other companies all over the world to follow your example?
So L'Oréal has started in 2013 a very, very important transformation on sustainability. So we are transforming our business model. And this is, of course, not finished. We have to continue to do so because sustainability has to be everywhere in our business model has to be aligned with the limits of the planet. And so this is an ongoing transformation where we have done a lot of progress and we can demonstrate a lot of results, and there are still things to come. Working on plastic is a very important issue for us. So we have a threefold strategy. First, we reduce the quantity of plastic. Second, we replace all virgin plastic by recycled plastic. And third, we are working on innovations in order to bring carton packaging to the world, to bring solid shampoos, to bring innovations that will allow us to get the most out of plastic, to get out of plastic in the end, hopefully. So a lot of companies are doing so, and so we are working to, we are many to work in this direction. But what is necessary to really change the system is, of course, that it's not just companies, it's also individuals, consumers who behave differently. It's waste treatment facilities in all countries, because this is really the only way to bring solution to this. And then individuals who respect to recycle. So it is a multi-parted solution that is necessary to the plastic challenge.
Any concrete actions of your foundation in Africa in this regard?
What we are doing it's not on a foundation level, but as L'Oréal as a corporation, we have created an impact investment fund. And with this investment fund, we support circular economy initiatives. So initiatives that work on recycling, on waste treatment. And so we are looking for projects all over the world that are efficient and responding to the targets, but also environmentally, socially and economically viable. And that there might be projects in the future that are taking place in Africa.
Alexandra Palt, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's it. Initiative Africa is over for today. And of course, you can find the interview of Alexandra Palt and the replay of our programs on our website, africaonair.com, as well as on our social media channels. Feel free to share, like and comment with the hashtag Initiative Africa TV show. And don't forget, next week, same time, same channel, I'll see you again with a new edition of Business Africa. Have a great week, everyone, and goodbye.